Welcome to the Deep Dive. We sift through the noise, the sources, the data, and give you the core insights. Today, we're really digging into something that's, well, everywhere, but maybe not fully understood, UI/UX design. And specifically, how psychology and behavioral science are kind of secretly running the show there. It's not just pretty pictures.
Exactly. Our goal here is to get past that surface level pretty quickly. We want to unpack let's say, the curated expertise behind interfaces that don't just look good, but actually work. They guide what users do, build trust without you even noticing, and deliver real, measurable business results. It's about applied science.
And the results can be pretty dramatic, right? We're seeing claims backed up by case studies that getting this right, using real behavioral insights, can boost conversions, sometimes by as much as 40%.
Yeah, a 40% lift isn't guesswork. It comes from knowing how people think and react emotionally. Every little thing, the color choice, where a button sits, the exact word you use, it's all ideally a calculated trigger, designed to make things easier, guide behavior, reduce that mental effort.
Okay, let's unpack that science bit. For a long time, I think businesses saw UI/UX as just, the final polish, like digital paint. But the sources are telling us that's a flawed way to think. If the interface isn't seen as a tool to influence behavior, well, you're leaving money on the table.
Precisely. And a key idea here right off the bat is cognitive load. That's basically how much brain power it takes to use something.
Yeah.
Good design, using these behavioral insights, systematically lowers that load. It makes the whole process feel smooth, effortless.
Effortless, yeah.
And that feeling builds trust, makes people happier using it, and ultimately that's what drives those business results we talked about. It's the business case for making things easy.
Right. Can we make that more concrete? Like real-world examples where reducing that cognitive load really paid off, maybe even operationally. I'm thinking about those self-check-in kiosks at the airport. We all use them. The tech is obvious. But maybe the real win was the interface itself.
Oh, absolutely. That interface design was, quite masterful in guiding attention. It didn't throw everything at you at once. It presented what you needed, step by step, by cutting down the choices, minimizing the what do I do next thinking.
Yeah, reducing the friction.
Exactly. That simple, well-thought-out interface cut cues, sped things up, and it definitely helped reduce staffing needs too. It shows how this expertise includes the customer side and the business operations.
And McDonald's self-order kiosks, similar story. I remember reading about that.
Very similar. A simple visual interface made customizing orders much easier than, trying to explain it all to a cashier.
Right.
And boom, they saw a 6% sales increase almost immediately. What's really interesting is the average order size went up too.
Why was that?
Because people felt less pressure, less awkwardness when looking at all the options and add-ons. When you lower the perceived risk and mental effort, people tend to engage more.
Makes sense.
And McDonald's saw the value. They planned to sink nearly $1 billion more into digital because they knew that lift came from the UI. The same logic applies to your website, your app, anything digital.
Okay, so minimizing friction is key. How subtle can these design nudges be? Let's get into the micro-level stuff, like manipulating perception. Color, for instance. We kind of know it matters, but how much, really?
It's still incredibly powerful. Sources confirm that color choices can influence up to 90% of someone's initial impression.
90%, wow.
Yeah, that first gut feeling. It affects trust, perceived quality, all before they've even read a word. But it goes beyond just blue feels calm. We need to think about the physics, almost, of the screen.
Physics on a screen. Okay, explain that.
Well, take Fitts' law. It's a classic HCI principle. It basically says the time it takes to click something depends on how far away it is and how big it is. So on screen, your critical buttons like Buy Now or Add to Cart, they need to be reasonably large and placed logically, like near where the user's focus already is, to cut down the time and effort to click them. Big, easy targets mean faster actions.
So it's literally engineering the click.
In a way, yes. And beyond size, think contrast and saturation. Blue might signal trust, sure, but a bright, saturated blue button on a plain background shouts, "Click me," much louder than a pale, muted blue. Red creates urgency, great for sales, but use it everywhere and people just tune it out, alarm fatigue. Green works for wellness, suggesting safety. Yellow for optimism. Each choice, size, color, placement should be a calculated decision based on these behavioral principles, not just personal taste.
Right. It shifts it from just art to actual engineering.
Yeah.
Okay. Visuals are huge. But what are the words? The microcopy. You said every word matters. Yet so many sites still use really bland calls to action like learn more or submit. They feel passive.
They are passive, and they tend to engage what psychologists call System 2 thinking. That's the slow, deliberate, effortful part of your brain.
The one that says, do I really want to click this?
Exactly. We want to tap into System 1 thinking, the fast, intuitive, emotional gut reaction. Passive language makes users pause and consciously weigh the options.
So how does language trigger that faster System 1 response?
You use words that promise discovery or frame it as starting something interesting. Curiosity is a powerful System 1 driver. We see that action-oriented, curiosity-piquing copy often get significantly more clicks. Instead of just download, maybe see how it works, instead of sign up, perhaps start your journey.
Discover what's inside.
Perfect example. It feels less like a task or commitment and more like you're about to get something interesting. It frames the click as an immediate reward.
Okay, this all sounds logical, powerful even.
Yeah.
But we also see lots of projects, even technically well-built ones, that just fall short. They don't get these big conversion boosts. If they're using the right colors and button sizes, what's going wrong?
The most common killer, honestly. Designing for the business, not the user. We call it stakeholder bias. The team gets attached to their own ideas, their own preferred features, how they think it should work. They forget or maybe ignore that the design isn't for them. It's for the person actually using it.
So the developers build something they love, but they haven't actually watched real users struggle with it or asked them what they find confusing.
Precisely. You absolutely need empathy-driven design. And that's not just a buzzword. It means constantly monitoring how people actually use the thing, looking at heat maps, click patterns, session recordings, and doing real research like user interviews or usability tests. You have to uncover how users genuinely think and feel. Without that real-world, data-backed insight, even a perfectly coded app can be incredibly frustrating because its logic makes sense to the company, but not to the customer.
Right. So if we want to really nail this, leverage that curated expertise to boost conversions. What's the essential checklist? The must-do practices grounded in this behavioral science.
Okay, first, as we just said, obsess over user needs. Continuous research, A/B testing everything important. Your design ideas are just hypotheses until real users validate them with their behavior. Data beats opinions.
Makes sense. What about structure, how information is organized?
Crucial for minimizing cognitive load. This brings in Hicks's law.
Okay, another law?
Yeah, this one states that the time it takes to make a decision increases as the number of choices goes up. It sounds obvious, but...
But menus with 20 options violate it badly.
Exactly. You overwhelm the user. Good design makes information easy to find. Logical categories, consistent layouts, clear hierarchy. You need to be ruthless about cutting out unnecessary options or noise.
And guiding the eye, making sure those important buttons get noticed. We touched on Fitts' law.
Right. You use size, color, contrast, and placement strategically. Your main call to action needs to stand out. It needs to visually dominate its area. It's not just about making it big, use white space around it, strong contrast. You're essentially engineering where the user looks first.
And the absolute baseline requirement for everything online.
Speed and responsiveness. Has to work flawlessly on every device, especially mobile. Mobile first isn't just a trend, it's reality, and it has to be fast, super fast. If your site or app takes ages to load, all that careful behavioral design is wasted because people will just leave. Patience online is incredibly thin.
So tying this all together, the big takeaway seems clear. UI/UX isn't just a design function, it's a core business asset. Using data, psychology, this curated expertise, it demonstrably boosts engagement, can cut operational costs, and delivers that potential 40% conversion lift.
Absolutely. The end goal is truly human-centered design. But human-centered, powered by hard data, sophisticated behavioral science, and constant real-world refinement. You move from just building an interface to engineering a pathway to success for the user.
Which leaves a really interesting question for you, our listener, as you think about your own digital presence. If you start seeing every design choice button size because of Fitts' law, menu options because of Hicks' law, word choices triggering System 1 as a deliberate behavioral lever, are you currently building an interface people just navigate? Or are you building one they genuinely connect with, engage with, and are, well, scientifically guided to convert through? Something to really consider.